My topic is the Cripple Creek Volcano. Most people, when I say Cripple Creek Volcano, they go, huh? And I go, let me tell you. Actually, the volcano occurred like 35 million years ago, approximately. But the resulting fallout, I guess you could say, from that particular event has ramifications even today. They were talking about this as early as the 1890s. There were papers and stuff written on the Cripple Creek volcano. During the Tertiary period, which is about 35 million years ago, the area between Teller County and Park County was a very active volcanic area. And I find it fascinating because you have Cripple Creek. Guffey is supposed to be in a small caldera, and then on up into some of the areas in Park County. Of all of those that were occurring, the only one that has shown any sign of color, gold or anything like that, is Cripple Creek. When a volcano explodes, and then the area where the lava and stuff is coming out in the flow is that hole that was created from that coming out. That's the caldera. That's that big hole. And if you are driving on 67 going into Cripple Creek, you know, you kind of go up that hill and you stand, you look down, you see this depression, and that's that caldera. Although it's, after 35 million years, it looks a little different than it would have when it first happened. But that's what that is. That's where that flow came out. I find it really fascinating that in this whole huge area, there's only this one spot where all the planets or whatever were aligned, and you have this gold, which is, they're still pulling gold out of there. What I also find fascinating is that the fluorescent fossil beds were created during this same time period. As most people would know, that whole Cripple Creek area was primarily ranching at that altitude. Wasn't a whole lot going on, and then of course, Bob Womack kept insisting that there was gold there, and people, the Pikes Peak or bust, 59, which was actually Cherry Creek, people were saying there was no gold in the Cripple Creek area. The rocks and things were not correct, which in fact it wasn't placer gold. It was, you have to basically dig it out. It became the last big gold rush in the lower 48. They have pulled more gold out of that region than they have almost anywhere else in the lower 48, possibly in the United States. As a result of the finding gold in there, Colorado Springs, the Pikes Peak region, was a beneficiary because initially, prior to finding gold, Colorado Springs was a resort community. Hence all the attractions. It was always meant to be like a tourist area. When gold was found in Cripple Creek, a number of people who had made their wealth there moved down and lived in Colorado Springs. Well, all of a sudden you have this huge amount of wealth coming into the city, which sort of changed the face of the town. The El Pomar Foundation, which is huge in this area, that's a positive out of that event. But of course you also have the negative in terms of, the way they used to mine with the leaching processes and stuff. So there's some environmental issues around it. So it's really a good news, bad news scenario. You look at a disaster, especially the more current ones. People weren't even around then. But when you look at even the more current disasters, yes, they're very distressful. Yes, there's a lot of heartache, but there's also a human element, the human overcoming. And I also think people, when they see that, they relate to that person overcoming. I also think they're going, thank goodness it wasn't me. And perhaps if you want to find solutions to the problems, then you need to look at what is going on, what happened, what's happening now, why this is happening. And I think it just gives people more options if they understand where things come from. Everything is filtered through your own experiences. But if your own experiences are only this, then you don't see this. And to me, having a history symposium, knowing these things, just creates a much larger base of knowledge to pull from.